Thank you so much for staying tuned. If you just joined us, this is International Forum. And with me here in the studio to talk about this particular issue, it's Honorable Derek Ohowago. He is a legal assistant to the senator representing Edo South Senatorial District, no other person than Neda, right, Imaswe. It's a pleasure to have you join me in the studio this afternoon to talk about this particular topic.
Thank you for having me.
Hope I got it correct.
Thank you, viewers.
Wilson introduced me well. I said, good, we just did that.
You still didn't get it.
Really?
You were supposed to.
Okay, fine.
It's legislative assistant, not legal assistant.
Okay, legislative assistant. Thank you. You know, so many.
The senator representing those South
All right. So many accolades, so many titles. Be like, come on, there's just too many. Anyway, legislative assistant. You've heard him. Well, join us virtually. He is a political analyst, political affairs commentator. Join me to welcome St. Moses Iremosele. If you're able to get contact with him, definitely you're going to hear his own part of this discussion. Meanwhile, let's tee up the discussion with Honorable Derek Ohowago. Well, when this campaign was going on in Cameroon, you get to realize that many persons that are not at the cap of Paul Biya, they are truly against it. They were totally against it. Even the daughter also spoke against his father participating in the election. It was said that during the campaign, the man was a no-show. He didn't come out for campaign. People just doing the campaign for him. You could see his image. You could see his mannequin. You just name it, being paraded in the streets of Cameroon, just campaigning on behalf of Paul Biya. Where is Paul Biya? They said he's jetted out of the country for 1 or 2 international engagements, so to speak. Now, the build-up from the campaign to this particular moment. Now, what do you feel about all this?
The issue with African political leaders or leadership is that they are very proactive, very smart when it comes to politicking for personal interest. They are so good for it. And sometimes I wonder, why not channel that energy towards nation building? You know, towards strengthening our institutions, towards making your nation to be at par with the Western, world. Why not? Try to strengthen your economic, position in the Committee of Nations. Why is it that we channel all our energy towards sustaining ourselves in governance and government? It's something we really need to, look deeply into, and then there needs to be some kind of, change of orientation, philosophy and ideology of our leaders and potential leaders, so that they start seeing the need for, legacy building. Building legacy while you are in position of governance or authority, so that in years to come, you'll be remembered for something good. We have the likes of Patrice Lumumba. We have the likes of Kwame Nkrumah, who is one of the forthright Pan-Africanists. And history will always remember them. Even Mama Gaddafi, history will always remember these folks, whether we like it or not. But, if the idea of staying in power is just to, benefit the luxury that comes with it, the respect that comes with it, then it's of no use. If you ask somebody like me, it's of no use. But you have an opportunity to impact lives and to do things that will outlive you, thereby writing your names in the sands of time, and people, hundreds of years to come, thousands of years to come, will say, there was a time in a country called Cameroon, a certain individual was our president, and so reforms that he led, led to the state of economic equilibrium that we enjoy today. Are you going to tell me now that today folks in Singapore will forget Lee Kuan Yew? They will never forget Lee Kuan Yew, because it took Lee Kuan Yew just about 20 years to transform Singapore from a very poor nation into a first world nation.
Use the word 20 years.
20 years.
Okay.
And it took China about 30 years to also transition from a very poor nation into, you know, the greatest economy. You know,
okay, hold on. Sorry for interjecting. You mentioned 2 countries, and of course, as an anchor of International Forum, I kind of know the history of these persons you're talking about. Take a look at the system in China. Xi Jinping has been there, and there is a law also that able to come back again to contest over and over and over again, almost like turning towards life presidency. Let's go back again to Russia. Putin is there. He made a law backed up by the House, so he can come back again to contest for the position over, and we say they don't have any ceiling right now. He can compete, he can contest from now till he goes to the great beyond. And these countries are doing well. Why is the world fingering Paul Biya?
No, the issue is not about staying in power. The issue is about impacting folks, you know, that you are meant to lead. CGP, for example, is the Secretary General of the, I think, the Communist
party in China.
Of China.
Yes.
You know, which by implication, he can remain in power so long as the leaders of that Communist Party continue to endorse him to rule, to lead the nation.
But just change the rule of recent.
They don't have the kind of democracy that the Western countries, you know, operate. That also translate to how we also, you know, operate our governance structure. Because we copied from the Western nation. But countries like China decided no matter what they see out there, they always tailor it to fit their own ideology. You know, so what the democracy of China is kind of different from what America, Britain, you know, operates. It's only that of Russia that have a similitude of the Western, you know, kind of democracy. But if you look at these leaders, like I said, you know, their own idea of leadership is to see how they can impart the people they are leading, and to see how they can also, you know, bring about legacies that will outlive them. You know, history will also never forget Putin, whether you like it or not. History will never forget CGP of China, whether you like it or not. Because look at the kind of game America wanted to play with them. China was there looking. The way they made a move, come on now, the move of the rare earth mineral was what brought about, you know,
the balance
the
in the
checkmate.
trade war.
Yes, and today America is also by appealing to China to support that. So what am I trying to say? Paul Biya being a life president is really not an issue. Folks like Muammar Gaddafi was a life president.
Because I'm coming to that now, if you take a look at Africa as a continent, remember Hosni Mubarak of Egypt? He was there for almost 30 years until the Arab Spring.
Yeah, until the Arab Spring.
Yes, and he was a force to reckon with. Some say it's like, you know, a balancing factor.
Yes.
That balance a particular region.
Yes.
If you doubt again to Libya, still in the northern sphere of Africa, we have Muammar Gaddafi, which you just mentioned. He was there for over 30 years also. They looked at him as a particular man that balanced that particular region. Remember when he was killed? Libya has never been the same again. Now we have a Paul Biya of Cameroon, over 30 years, still there. Do you think that Paul Biya is a balancing factor in Cameroon, knowing fully well we have dissidents and insurgents that want to crack Cameroon into bits and parts?
Note that Paul Biya is a factor of equilibrium in Cameroon, whether we like it or not. He also will take the consent of Paul Biya and his handlers. They will, until they decide to relinquish power willingly, you know, to whoever opposition it is. If it does not happen that way, there will be serious crisis of anarchy and economic instability in Cameroon, because the institutions have been tailored to serve only Paul Biya and his handlers. If a sudden change occurs without the normal transitional process, it will shake every fabric of the socio-political and economic landscape of Cameroon, no doubt. But what I am trying to say here is that Paul Biya have a chance, or had a chance for the past 50 years. Remember, he was prime minister since 1975. He was prime minister for 7 years, up till 1982, when the president resigned and he took over from the president
Yes.
in 1982. As a young man then, he would have tried to, try to lead the nation on the path of Eldorado, wherein, even though we know you are a stooge of the French, but you'd have tried to steadily, constantly, bring about reforms. Because it's only reforms that you bring hastily that will shake, whatever structure you have in place. But when you bring it small, over time, Cameroon would have been a very beautiful place. And also remember that Bakassi Peninsula was ceded to Cameroon.
Yes.
And it is a mineral-rich region. And
all because of Paul Biya. He was able to play the politics very well.
Check this out.
Not
necessarily because of Paul Biya.
Because of the presence of Paul Biya, they were able to play their politics very well that made them end up Bakassi.
No, I'll tell you what.
Yes.
Nigeria, which is a country with one of the highest mineral deposit, variable mineral deposit in the world. There has a circular was released recently, where a former CIA agent recommended that Nigeria should never be allowed to use its mineral for its own benefit. If not, Nigeria will become an example for other African nations to look towards developing their own, mineral wealth and their own economy. So you know that the neo-colonialist ideology of Africa, or plans for Africa, is for Africa to remain a perpetual stooge or pawn for Western interest and Western development. So the threat that Nigeria have too many minerals, and they saw a chance for them to cede Bakassi to Cameroon, they took it. Because then we had a government that was answerable to the Western powers, and we were pretty much afraid of what they can do to us. That's our leaders. So whatever they say was not there, and we allowed them to give Bakassi to Cameroonians, even though we know that Bakassi belonged to us. But that is actually not the issue here. The issue here is that Paul Biya had a chance, or have a chance till now, to also steer his country to that direction of equilibrium, of balance, of prosperity, for all his people. The chance still remains there. But if he continues to want to stay in power just for the sake of staying in power, for the reason of being in affluence and enjoying himself, then it is a big mistake. Because history will always remember him for the good he failed to do, or for the bad he has decided to do while in power. So these are the issues. Having said that, the handlers of Paul Biya, I must give them the thumbs up, because they've been able to strategically position this man for victory after victory.
You just hold on, we'll come back to the handlers. Okay, let's get to hear from St. Moses Eremosele, who is joining us virtually, though in Benin. St. Moses, a pleasure to have you join us this afternoon. I believe you've been listening to Honorable Derek Nwago. Now, do you have a contrary view to what his opinion has been on this particular discussion about Paul Biya winning the election in Cameroon, though he is 92 years old?
Yeah, good afternoon, Wilson, and good afternoon, Steve. Frankly, I listened to him. I didn't follow from the beginning. What I can understand is that he's saying that Paul Biya has been perpetuating himself in power because of the Western influence. I agree to a very large extent. When you see African leaders that old, almost 100 years, is still in power for the umpteenth time, and France has been silent about it. And the same France is so loud against the young revolutionary in the West Africa country, and they are asking him to leave every minute, but they have not told Paul Biya to leave, because Paul Biya obviously serves their purpose. That reinforces a problem in Africa, that we depend on those who exploit us to defend us. And when your exploiters are your defenders, you are doomed to be in trouble. And that's why most African countries are in trouble. And that's why, of course, Nigeria lost Bakassi to Cameroon, because at the time also the leadership we had was also very, I was kowtowing to the whims and caprices of the Western powers. We in Africa need to learn a lesson from Paul Biya's declaration of himself as president, because I do not believe that the Cameroonians voted for him, because all across the length and breadth of Cameroon, I have a lot of friends from Cameroon. I met a lot of them in Germany. and there's nobody I've seen in Cameroon who is happy with Paul Biya. A lot of them are, seeking asylum abroad, and they're very worried about what Paul Biya has done to their generation. They have not known a leader outside Paul Biya. I think Africa, we need to sit back and solve our problems by ourselves. If it means doing elections, let's do elections. If elections cannot solve our problem, if there are any other legal or extra-legal means to take our country back, I think Africa should take our country back and put it on sound footing. So young people should be in charge of their country. If you must be old, it must be that you are giving us a very, very good service, not because you are forcing yourself on us, like Biya is doing in Cameroon. It's obvious that Biya is not serving the interests of the Cameroonians, and it's a good example for Africa. And France should come up and denounce him the way they are denouncing Ibrahim Traoré. If they cannot denounce him, then France should leave Cameroon forever. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Moses. I'll come back to you in a moment. You heard him. He said France has been so quiet about this, and of course, people have been like, talking so much about this also. Well, we want to go for a break. When we return, we'll continue with this discussion. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Thank you so much for staying tuned. If you just joined us, this is International Forum. We're taking a look at what is going on right now in Cameroon, where protesters are in various cities in Cameroon protesting the victory of Paul Biya. Well, let me come to you. You're talking about the handlers of Paul Biya campaign, despite the fact that St. Moses said many persons or citizens don't like Paul Biya. It's like he has a formidable structure, and the people in that particular structure seems to be in love with him for almost like over 40 years. These guys, I don't know, how do you think they've been succeeding in making him come back over and over again as president?
Currently, his main handlers currently is his son, Frank Biya, and this general secretary of the presidency, Ferdinand Gongo, followed by his wife and other very top-level officials. But these three people are his major handlers, and they've been doing a great job at sustaining him in governance. You will recall that in 1992, a certain individual, contested against Paul Biya.
Yes.
And this individual was, he had a lot of popularity. This person, I think, is by name Maurice Kamto.
Maurice Kamto.
He was so popular that he was about to defeat Paul Biya, no matter what they did. So it was Paul Biya's handlers that recommended that Bello Boba be drafted to contest in that same election. So Bello Boba was a minister under the cabinet of Paul Biya, was drafted to contest. And he contested because he came from the same region with that Maurice Kamto. So he was able to divide the votes, in that region of Maurice Kamto. Meanwhile, Paul Biya has his own block vote in his own region. So there was no problem over there. So Paul Biya narrowly won that election by about, I think, 36%. He got 36%.
There was no rigging there in that election.
I really don't know, but it was pretty much a difficult nut to crack, So he got 36% of total vote cast. Imagine, he didn't even get up to 40%.
40%.
After that election, I think in 2018, there was another election where, it was also very closely contested. It was in that election that the likes of Libili Cabra, one of the youngest candidates in this current election, also came up. In that election, it was also closely contested, and Paul Biya had the run. One of the greatest challenge of his career yet. But these people were also able to manipulate the process in favor of Paul Biya. Then this latest election, what did they do? They knew that somebody like Maurice Kamto would give them serious problem. So he was disqualified from contesting this current election. So I expected the electorate to rally around one
candidate.
Instead of the electorate to rally around one candidate, you know, the whole process was polarized. Also, the opposition figures also made a very big blunder. They were not able to also endorse one candidate. There were 9 people contesting against Biya in this election. Are you aware? 9 people.
9 of them.
How can 9 people face just one individual? And whether you like it or not, he is in control of the institutions of governance. He is in control of the ELECAN, the Cameroonian electoral, you know. So they would have come together, and all of them stepped down for just one individual. And for me, if you ask me, the best individual to have been, you know, supported in this election would have been Libili Cabra, because he's the youngest, you know, opposition figure who is equally popular. Meanwhile, he came third in this election. Even though he had 3.45% of total vote cast. You know, after Issa Chiroma, who got 35%.
36% or thereabout.
35.45.
But now he's saying that he's the one that has scored 54-point-something%, not Biya.
You know, but he cannot prove it. He cannot prove it. The records are there. You know, so they made a mistake of supporting somebody like Issa Chiroma. Whether I like it or not, Issa Chiroma was in the cabinet of Biya until this election. He resigned to contest this election. So some people were still in doubt of his credibility and sincerity for the electorate, in that he has been in this cabinet for a long time. He's equally an old man. Issa Chiroma is over 75 years old. You know, so he's one and the same with the likes of Biya, whether I like it or not.
All right. Let's get to hear from St. Moses. St. Moses, if you are still there, now you've seen the protests erupting from Cameroon by some dissatisfied persons in this particular election. Do you feel that this protest will make any difference?
Can you hear me, sir?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Hello? Yes.
Go ahead, we can hear you.
The election, yes, like my brother is analyzing, the election was not actually free and fair. The election was massively rigged, according to the opposition. Biya won by 53.something% of the vote, according to the result declared. And there was instant reaction, there was rejection by the opposition, and in the street there were a lot of casualties. That tells that the election was manipulated. It's not only because they were fragmented. Yes, that's also a factor. The opposition was fragmented. In a situation like we have in Biya's Cameroon, opposition should rally around one person. Don't also forget that Biya is also a master in the game, the master of the game of dividing the country so that he can rule them. That's why he was able to fragment the election in the year 1992, in 2018, and even right now, he made over 8 or 9 opposition candidates so that the opposition will be fragmented and he will win. Even at that, he did not still get up to 60% of the votes that he allegedly rigged. So the point is, the lesson we need to learn from this in Nigeria is if we need to resist any power that be, opposition must close ranks, forget their differences, and rally around one imperfect person. You don't never get a perfect person. You find the imperfect one who is willing to, improve, and rally around to have the perfect person, and then you can fight. Otherwise, you can just forget the election altogether. For Biya, he has the next 4 years to prove to the world whether he wants to be the oldest man ever in history to have ruled the country on earth, and whether he wants to die in office or whether he wants to be quitting to his generations of Cameroonians the fact that they can never get close to power. It's for Cameroonians to bother about that problem. For us in Nigeria, we need to learn the lesson that we do not allow any individual, however good the person is, to have absolute power, because absolute power corrupts absolutely. We need to all the time change leadership as soon as we defeat, because then
all right,
you are in trouble forever. Thank you.
All right. Well, you've heard him. He's talking about people protesting, saying this election was rigged. But from your own calculation, it seems like they're the one that undid their own self. In fact, they are like behind their own undoing, in the sense that 9 persons competing against a man that has strong backbone, that has strong base. You feel that, and that they all came together without made any difference in the election?
Yeah, if they had all come together, it would have made tremendous difference. But a lot of factors needed to be put in place, which includes supporting the right individual. Because whether you like it or not, some folks still had doubts about the sincerity of purpose of Issa Shiroma. You know, they needed to support a young, dynamic individual, you know, who have a track record of selflessness and patriotism. And somebody who also have the potential to fight against the new colonialistic tendencies of countries like France, you know. And then the fact that the opposition figures, you know, failed to come together to deploy this kind of individual with this kind of characteristics, you know, was their own undoing. Also, the electorates, even though just now they have woken up big time compared to 2018.
Yeah.
Cameroon, there's a lot of change in their orientation currently. Perhaps maybe because of the social media proliferation. With this Twitter, WhatsApp, Facebook, and TikTok. You know, so there's a lot of enlightenment now in Cameroon. The young folks have decided to take their destiny in their hands. But I want to hope this time around that they will start preparing for the next election. Because with what is going on now, Biya will, you know, would likely succeed his father.
We are coming to that aspect.
You know,
we're coming to that aspect
because he's a very influential figure in the national polity of Cameroon.
Okay, now, but is that the game plan? People are like saying that we don't want to do this kind of hereditary system of governance whereby the father will pass the mantle to the son. But some are saying this is what is building up to. How do you feel about that?
Of course, it is. It is. Biya, like I said, is a very influential individual in the governance structure of Cameroon. I will not be surprised if he's the one that approves all correspondence that comes through the table of Mr. President. Because Biya, you know, currently is not no longer active. He's docile, always resting. They are taking his hand as if it's Moses when he was fighting the enemies. When the Bible said they should lift up his hand and he got tired, they had to. So they take him a bath. When he wants to take a dump, they have to take him to the toilet. Whatever he wants to do, they help him to do it. He doesn't even think straight anymore.
How would you know he doesn't think straight anymore?
Check this out. Yeah. You will recall the last time, I think 2022, when they went to, the African leaders went to United States of America for African Leaders Summit.
Yes.
But Biya, when they approached the podium, he was blank. He was looking like this. He was dazed. He was confused. He was absent-minded.
And maybe there was having some health situation or health challenges.
Which have to do with old age. Old age. They had to quickly take him away from there. He froze. They took him away from. He was confused. He didn't know where he was. You know, they had to take him away from there. All of this come as a result of old age. He's 92 years old, for crying out loud. So, you know, Biya, they are preparing him to take over from his father, whether he like it or not. His father may likely die in service. And whoever is the prime minister now, I'm sure they have instructed that once the man dies, you resign and will quickly do another election. And Biya will take over from his father.
Okay, let's get to hear from Moses. Let's go if he shares the same view with you. Well, Moses, I know you up there. Is that the game plan? Do you feel that that is a game plan to allow Biya to be the next president after the demise of Paul Biya?
Yes, that may be the game plan. Yes, thank you very much. That may be the game plan. But what I think we should expect next in Cameroon is that Paul Biya's victory is not just another election result. It's a statement about continuity, control of the complex political survival of Cameroon. In the near term, we should expect stability on the surface. And in the long term, we may see tension escalate, and then there may be international pressure for reforms or even for him to leave or abdicate. I think their grand plan is to get their succession within in-house. maybe to give to his son, his family, or his trusted ally. At 92, for Biya's greatest challenge isn't winning elections anymore, actually. You should know that. It's actually managing the future. He's trying to look for a successor. And the ruling party must show a clear succession plan to avoid power vacuum that could destabilize the country. We should also expect more international scrutiny in Cameroon, as in other African countries. Donors and partners will demand reforms, transparency, and dialogue, especially the Anglophone crisis and youth unemployment persist. What I think they are doing is just to find a way to have a successor that's outside the opposition. That may or may not be depending on how much the Cameroonian youth and the people, and don't forget the youth form more than 60% of the population. Youth under 25 years form 60% of the population, and that's a risk factor for the government in Cameroon. Space of code, we know what will happen in the coming days, weeks, and months, and years. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Sir Moses. Well, some are saying that you having this opinion that he wants to like take over, that is not true. That is the one in charge already.
No doubt.
How would you fathom this opinion and say, look, Paul Biya, according to many reports, is old. Some are saying it's Dosa, some are saying it's Senai, but there's someone there behind pulling the string, and all fingers are pointing to Frank Biya. How do this hypothesis?
All day long, no doubt. Frank Biya has been in charge for quite some years now, no doubt. And my own, if you ask me, my own candid advice or opinion with regards to stabilizing the socio-economic and political landscape of Cameroon is for the handlers of Paul Biya to play it cool. Play it cool. At this point, I would have expected that Paul Biya's successor would have been the one to have contested in this election. There would have been nothing wrong with that. It would have been the best time to unveil Paul Biya's successor, be it his son, be it the Ferdinand Ungo, who is the General Secretary of the Presidency, even his wife. You know, why not? Because the Cameroonians, they want anything apart from Paul Biya currently. And if what is going on now, the country...
But not all Cameroonians, because some are still backing Paul Biya.
Of course.
You saw his campaign train.
You don't expect it to be 100%.
He wasn't there. The campaign train is like, you know, filled with
but
people.
check this out. You and I know that the politics of the African states is that of politics of poverty and hunger.
Stomach infrastructure.
Yes, there are people right now who would accept as low as 10,000 naira to murder an individual. Come on, people are that desperate though. So what am I trying to say? They would have used this particular election to unveil his successor, because a smart orator leaves the stage when the innovation is loudest. You know, so I would have expected them to have done that. If the country slides into anarchy, it is not only Cameroon that will suffer it. Congo will suffer it. Central African Republic will suffer it. Chad will suffer it. I'll tell you why and how. Congo, Chad, Central African Republic depends on Cameroonian ports to go about their import and export activities. Congo and Chad depends on the pipeline, Cameroonian pipeline. They have oil and gas. And once there is a crisis in Cameroon, those value chain will be disrupted. The economic situation of Cameroon will be worsened in that it will affect trade, it will affect supply, it will affect investor confidence, thereby leading to capital flights. So Cameroonians, however painful it is, the situation at hand, they need to play it cool, because if the country now slide into crisis, this is what the imperialists want. Because if there's a crisis in any region, the imperialists will now gain access to their mineral wealth for free. They will only have to pay some, what they call these people?
Mercenaries.
Mercenaries who would guide whatever
installation
they have there. They will take it for free. So this is what they want. And Africans should do everything possible to go about revolution that does not require violence or crisis or bloodshed. Instead, the revolution of ideology, where people will come together and dialogue and reason together, chart the best possible way forward for a nation. And this is what I expected Biya and Settlers to do, but they've not done it. I want to hope and pray that the situation in Cameroon do not deteriorate, so that they will have a chance again, maybe in 2032, to right the wrong that they already, done now.
All right, let's get to hear from St. Moses. Now, do you feel that Cameroon and some Cameroon, not all of them, protesting, is it going to change anything, or do you feel that Cameroon is descending into a state of anarchy which they will not recover from soonest? Depends on the handlers.
Thank you, Wilson. I agree with the last speaker that it's a precarious situation for Cameroon. Any missteps could lead the country into an irreconcilable conflict, just like in Congo and their neighbors and other places where they have resources. Cameroon has some resources. They have to. But I also think revolution is not something that you can actually predict how it will unfold. But the point is to resolve that conflict democratically and follow settled laws in the country. But then the youth must do something about their country. If they want Biya, by all means, Biya has a right to be a president. The human being, even if he's 155 years old. After all, the Queen of England is about the same age and was ruling until he died. But if the people do not want you to be their leader and you forcefully put a step there, that's where the problem lies. And that's where the people must rise up by all means. And sometimes take the bull by the horn, sometimes shake a few tables and break a few legs of the tables. And as far as you are not breaking the law, free yourself and protect the country, South Africa, and let the future of our children be better than our own and our princess' future. Thank you.
All right. You've heard St. Moses. He said, look, he's towing the same line and, of course, sharing your own vision. Now, what advice do you have for those protests? You get to see police brutality in action. You saw the clip. Some protesters being brutalized by the police or by the armed forces. What do you feel should be the way out? Should the protests continue, or they should just sit their sword and wait out for Biya's lifespan for there to be peace at least?
You see, authority figures are very powerful and influential people. In the case of Cameroon, the president and his handlers controls virtually everything. Institutions are weak in Cameroon. Cameroon are one of the weakest institutions in the world. They are weak. They are, under the apron string of the president or folks like Frank Biya, his son, and Ferdinand Ungo, the general secretary of the presidency. So they can do and undo. People are already dying. Protesters are already dying. So they are the ones who will lose their life. They are the ones whose property will be destroyed. Because when the protesters are destroying properties, they will not gain access to presidential villa, except the thing has seriously escalated.
Yes.
It is the small, medium, and petty traders that will suffer it, because their kiosks, their shops, that will be destroyed. It's their homes, their farmlands, that will be destroyed. Maybe a few government installations like garages, bus terminals, and maybe some buses will be destroyed. And government will take money that's supposed to be made for the welfare of its citizens or for economic reforms to fix those things. So, they are always at the receiving end. The poor and middle class people are always at the receiving end in any conflict. So my advice is for them to play it cool, take it easy. What has been has already been. There's no changing it. These are desperate folks who want to see themselves in power till the next election. So nothing will change it. They will manage the situation however it is. So it's for the people to take it easy so that the country will remain stable.
Thank you so much, Honorable Derek Huwango, for your wonderful analysis. I appreciate also St. Moses that joined us virtually. Well, let's see how the situation in Cameroon will pan out, because right now some persons truly they've lost their life. Protesters are saying no, they don't want Biya, but according to the electoral law, he has won the election. He's been sworn in already. Why not let peace reign? Or you protest all through? I don't know, but we keep watching as it's to report back to you on what is happening globally on this platform, International Forum. See you next week, Tuesday, God willing. Bye for now.